Are we spoiling our kids by giving them too much? Tracey Jackson is a mom living in New York City who worried that her daughter Taylor was becoming spoiled. After the 15-year-old charged $1,000 at restaurants in just 1 month on a credit card, Jackson decided to take drastic measures. She took Taylor to the slums of India and made a documentary about the experience called Lucky Ducks. Take a look.
Which is real and which is fake?
That's real. No,
that's real.
They call themselves ducks, as in lucky ducks. Lucky because they grow up privileged kids, in this case on Manhattan's Upper East Side. Kids who need nothing and have what seems like everything.
$12,018 worth of stuff lying on the floor.
Mom Tracey Jackson says she was a duck herself. She gained notoriety as the screenwriter of Confessions of a Shopaholic, but for this film, she turned director and turned the camera to her daughter.
Right now, I'm going to study. I didn't ask for that!
Tracey thinks Taylor is so spoiled that she comes up with a plan.
I decided to send her to the slums of India to spend her spring break teaching street children English.
Taylor not only survived, she actually seemed to thrive helping these children. But back in comfortable surroundings, mother and daughter clash yet again.
And what are you doing now? You're yelling at me! No, I'm walking out.
It is only then that Tracey realizes that it is not only Taylor who needs to be fixed, she needs to resolve issues of her own, past and present. In the end, this documentary is a journey, but not merely about a trip to India. It is about mothers and daughters, and the journey is in finding common ground.
And joining us now are the stars of Lucky Ducks, Tracey Jackson and her daughter, Taylor Templeton. That's rough stuff to watch. Any regrets letting it all hang out?
People ask me that, and no, actually, there are no regrets. When I started to make this, I decided that I had to, the only way it was really going to matter was if I showed it for all it was.
Was there an aha moment when you realized that Taylor had a problem? Or, I mean, did you really not notice all those years that perhaps she was running with a crowd that maybe wasn't the best, doing things that weren't appropriate?
You know, I think with kids it builds up. So I think with girls, probably, and you would agree, around 13 to 15, you start seeing this kind of sea change from child that goes then into this young teenagehood. So, you know, the yelling, the talking back, the sort of proverbial, if I talked to my parents this way, I would never, you know, have gotten away with it. It starts happening, and then, sure, one moment you wake up and you go, I can't take this anymore. And it's about, you know, 2 years in. At 15, I just went, I can't live like this. And if we keep going, it's only going to get much worse.
But how much do you think are you to blame for not setting enough limits, for buying her the lovely things that we see in the documentary?
Oh, I think parents, I'm totally to blame. And that's what the film ultimately becomes about.
Do you agree, Taylor?
100%.
100%? It's her fault?
Everything's my fault.
You make the radical decision to teach your daughter a lesson by sending her to the slums of India to teach poor kids. Why India? Why not Harlem or Camden, New Jersey?
Yeah, that's a question a lot of people ask. I have a great love of India. I've made several films in India. We have a school in India that we do help support. And, you know, absolutely it's valid. There is poverty right outside this door, and people need to be helped. But the poverty in India is so in your face. The getting away from her life completely.
You said that in removing her.
Exactly.
Like you can't go home.
You can't go home. You can go to a soup kitchen and do a lot of good, and I think kids should. And I'm in any way saying that they shouldn't. But, you know, you get to India, you're in the middle of it, and you have no way out. You don't have a cell phone, you don't have a laptop, you can't text, you can't go home at night to your comfy bed. You're there, and it's in your face, and you're forced to deal with yourself in a way that you wouldn't be if you were going home every night and having your comfy dinner in your comfy room.
Taylor, what did you think when your mom proposed this idea? Were you horrified, shocked, angry?
I was horrified. I was nervous. It really didn't hit me until I got there, and I was alone and forced to embrace the experience for what it was.
And did you think you were, as your mother called you, entitled or spoiled?
I understood her point. I understood why she wanted to do it. at the time, it didn't really seem as necessary. Now looking back on it, I'm extremely grateful, not only for the particular trip, but for just the entire journey.
It is one thing to send your daughter to the slums of India to teach children and go through this experience. It's another thing to videotape and film the whole thing. Why did you decide to make a movie out of this?
Well, I am a filmmaker by trade. I'm a screenwriter. And I had been wanting to make a documentary. And quite frankly, I thought at a certain point, a book came out over the course of the summer when I was beginning to think that this would be a good thing to do, called The Price of Privilege by Madeline Levine. And I realized by talking to other parents and reading and doing research that this wasn't just a problem, A, for privileged kids. It was a problem that pretty much spanned across society in general on one level or another. It's a matter of how much. And that if it was this important to me, it must be important to other families. There were other families where this was going on. So if we filmed it, maybe we would have a story to tell.
Very quickly, what lessons do you think you learned?
I think the most important lesson I really did learn is embracing that every child growing up has issues. It's something universal. Just those issues that we filmed happen to be mine, but it's a matter of facing them, embracing them, accepting them, and then changing them. So once you respect yourself enough to make good decisions, then you can help others and make a difference.
Taylor, Tracey, it's a fascinating documentary, and I think it sparked a lot of debate between parents and teenagers. Thanks so much for being here this morning. It's called Lucky Ducks.